How you doing? Liam O'Gogon here from the men's shed, Skew Boulevard in Greedore. I'm going to tell you a story, and if I heard this story, I wouldn't believe it. So I have to be mindful of that when I'm telling you this story, okay? The only difference is I'm backing up this story with incontrovertible, reproducible, auditable evidence. So I want to go back to February 2022, when our shed dismissed a member from our shed, having gone through a grievance procedure that we ourselves had put together. Now, in doing that, we sought whether there was any information that could be gleaned from the Irish Men's Shed Association, and realised there was no information, no support, no help. Move on to mid-2023, I got a call from John Lahey, who was the assistant for Enda Egan, the CEO of the IMSA at that point in time, to say that he had fielded a complaint which was passed to him by Eva Byrne from the complainant. I sent John Lahey an explanation of what had happened, a recognition that we recognise totally a person's right to a due process in terms of processing a complaint, and I provided him a copy of the grievance procedure, asking that the IMSA would evaluate it and help us modify it, or if it was evaluated to other sheds, it might be passed on to other sheds. That's important. Never heard a word since then. IMSA just seemed to drop it. Move on to January 2024, just over 2 years ago. Suddenly Enda Egan arrives up in our shed on the 24th of January 2024. And the reason he came up is because he had been sent on a letter from Minister Heather Humphreys' office. Note Minister Heather Humphreys, you remember in the presidential campaign at the end of 2025, the controversy over what happens when Minister Heather Humphreys sends you the letter. What happens is Enda Egan scampered up to Donegal, took his time visiting all the way up from the Midlands to give an audience to the complainant in his personal home. He then came to our shed and told us, like the sheriff, he brought with him his information officer in order to take notes, that he was obligated under law and obligated also under a service level agreement with the IMSA funders, that's your taxpayers' money by the way, to carry out an investigation which he insisted would be done by the book. At the end of this meeting, at which copious notes were taken, Enda Egan said that they were going to go back and assist the complainant in putting together his complaint. Now, would you credit that? Imagine the referee was going to help the guy prepare for the game, and that he expected that this process would be completed a typical turnaround period of 30 days. That's over 2 years ago. So what happened in the meantime? Well, what I can tell you has happened despite countless emails and correspondence, all of which I've meticulously kept, and that which I've extracted from the IMSA, the Irish Men's Shed Association, under DSAR, that's Data Subject Access Requests under the Data Protection Act. I asked repeatedly for very simple things. Can we have a copy of the signed complaint made against us plus the supporting evidence? Now, anybody who understands anything about due process will realise it's the fundamental thing you're applying for. 2 years later, our shed still doesn't have a copy of this complaint. In the meantime, we have suffered harassment and anxiety and stress by this, not only by this individual, but by the fact this individual has been given oxygen, stating that the IMSA are going to close down our shed and that we're going to be, justice is going to be implemented. And all of the time, the IMSA, by apparently doing nothing. Now, what they've done is they've refused to give us the copy of the complaint. What I discovered in the process is that the IMSA didn't even have a complaints procedure in place, and in fact only produced it in July last year, 2025, and then kept insisting that they couldn't process the complaint until they had this procedure in place, and that they couldn't give us the complaint until they had the procedure in place. And then, even when they had the procedure in place, we found out no one else has ever been processed this through this procedure, the grievance handling procedure. You won't find this on their website because they told nobody about it. Not only that, but you in sheds didn't get a chance to vote on this procedure or policies because you have no say. No shed has a say in what happened to the IMSA. So the next thing we have is that over this period of time, we have been experiencing, particularly leadership of the shed, and specifically our chairman, has been harassed by this individual And, you know, in a small community, you have to understand that the gossip and the stuff said through social media is extremely damaging to small communities. Now, what I've then discovered under countless freedom of information applications that I made to the various funding departments, this is why I discovered the whole aspect of the illegitimacy of the Irish Men's Shed Association. We have an organisation who are not elected by you, and you have no say in it, carrying out an investigation where they haven't established any what's called locus standi or any standing in this. They haven't had a procedure, and they keep refusing to give us the allegation against us that we might defend. Then I discovered that in June, under summer last year, that the IMSA then have decided to go to an outside body, and I discovered in a conversation with Enda Egan on October the 1st last year that they had contracted to spend €12,000 on an outside body to come in and evaluate this complaint. And that in October, this outside body, Resolve Ireland they're called, according to Enda Egan, had already met with the complainant before we even knew what the rules of the game were, who this body were, and we've never met this body. And this is now 4 months later, and we still haven't heard anything from this Resolve Ireland crowd, okay? Now, the reason I'm making this video is we are damaged by this, and we still have made no progress. And this IMSA, this organisation, which is effectively a group of individuals who have hijacked your association, our sheds, your sheds, 450 sheds around the country, and have now supposedly guinea pigging us through a process in the most, in the most amateurish way possible. And they are being funded by your taxpayers' money. So I find this unacceptable, and I want the funders, the state funders, because they're all taxpayers' money, they have to be held accountable for this and for the damage they're doing to our shed. So this is an introductory video to, you might say, well, Liam, this is a lot of stuff to be saying. Can you prove this? So essentially, this is a playlist. And in the playlist, there are 3 particularly long videos, and they are long-form videos because they are the reproducible, auditable evidence. So while Enda Egan and the IMSA conveniently now claim to have no longer got the notes of this meeting in January the 24th, 2024, which they kept copious notes of, and which are required, by the way, to have been kept by their procedure. I present in the videos the actual audio recording of that meeting and subsequent meetings with the Assistant CEO, Aidan O'Gorman, in May 25, and a long conversation with Enda Egan on the 1st of October 2025. So they're long because they go through second by second what was actually said. They are the evidence. I don't apologise because there's no short way. You know, the devil is in the detail, and details matter in an investigation. However, this introductory video tells you that's what it's about. So 1, we have been damaged by the corrupt failure to properly process an allegation and a complaint. And secondly, the realisation that the people who are supposed to be doing this have themselves no authenticity to claim that they represent either our shed or your shed, because those people are not elected by you. So I'm calling this out. You know, men's sheds are too important to be left in the hands of these people. They've done, in my view, more damage than one can imagine. Remember, the magic of men's sheds is actually happening here. It's happening in our shed here. This is a wonderful place. This is what sheds are about. The men's sheds, the Irish men's sheds, they don't bring anything to our shed. They've done nothing for us per se, except they're spending your taxpayers' money, and it's not okay. So I'm calling for a complete root and branch rebuild of the Irish Men's Shed Association, where the shed leadership is elected by you, your shed. The decisions in terms of policies and practices are controlled and voted upon by you. So now that you've heard it, I keep saying the quote, those who care don't know, and those who know don't care.